What's up, Instagram Live and YouTube Live? It is Friday morning Q&A. I hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful day today. Excuse me. It's Friday. It's Q&A day. So if you are here and you want to come on and ask some questions, then you can do that. Can join me live actually on YouTube. If you want to join me live, if you're on Instagram, Sleepaholic, what's going on? If you want to join me on YouTube, you can join me there. If you're on Instagram, you can join me there. But this next hour is your hour to ask questions, to pick my brain, to ask me about the meaning of the world, all of that stuff. What do you think? You can do that. All right. So let's go with our first guest. Fast and Furious today. Aw, you requested to join and then you decline. That is sad. There was a question. How much of a personal statement should you dedicate to MD versus PA? I don't think at all your personal statement should be MD versus anything else. Your personal statement is why MDDO, not why not PA or anything else. So that's my thought. Hello there.
Hi, Dr. Gray.
What's up, Ryan? Ryan.
All right.
Ryan. It's Ryan Inception.
Yeah. So I am planning on applying. I've started applying this cycle for MD and DO schools, and I just received my MCAT score from the April 15th test date, and I received a score that I am not okay with. That's not, I think, a fair representation of how I was, kind of leading up to the exam. I received a 498.
Okay.
And I think there were some shortcomings in terms of my timing in the chem phys section as well as the car section.
Yeah.
And that's reflective in my score. Whereas in the biochem and the biochem and the psych soc section was more along the lines of what I was expecting. And so looking forward, I already started Blueprint. I'm working with them and everything. So I'm looking forward to that. I already scheduled my exam retake for August 4th.
Okay.
With that being said, I have already sent in my DO applications, and I'm still planning on sending in my MD applications. And so I just wanted some advice as to how I should do all of that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what advice I can give you other than do it all. I think the first question that I would ask you is, why not delay your application to maximize your MCAT score without rushing to take an August score, which is pretty late in the cycle. By the time you get your score back, it's pretty late. Things are still doable depending on what the rest of your application looks like. But the medical schools are going to be sitting for a long time on that application. And by the time they get around to it, you just have to hope and pray that they still have some interview spots to give out.
Right. And so with that is, I mean, I did already send away my DO applications before I even received my score.
Yep.
So with that, I'm kind of locked in, and I still feel like I can receive a score in August that is good enough, if not much higher than what I should be, what the requirements of like a DO school are, which I have no reservations against DO schools. I'm applying them for a reason. I like the philosophy. It's been ingrained in me throughout these past 4 years, especially. Okay. And so with that, when I was leading up to my previous test date, in terms of content, I felt good. My full lengths were really good. Timing was good in there. I think when it came to the actual test day, there was a lot of stress regarding like the testing environment, which I tried to simulate beforehand during my full lengths.
So let me stop you. I mean, you've mentioned a couple times that you felt it was more just kind of a fluke, that timing was off a little bit, just took you a little bit slower to get started this time. why jump into a course and not just go register for the MCAT again and take it in June? So to me, you're either lying to me or lying to yourself.
I think it's just I mean, when I was taking my full lengths, it wasn't that I was getting 515s plus. My average between all my full lengths was about, I think, about a 508, which to me isn't a horrible score. I think
It's a great score.
Fair. And with a 498 on the full length, I mean, on the actual exam, I still think that there is room for improvement on that score, even if I were to get a 506 or higher on my actual MCAT. And so I just thought that I have the summer right now. I sent in my applications, especially for the DOs already.
Yep.
And I think it's worthwhile to try to improve the score significantly. And I'm not necessarily rushing. I have my whole entire, I have throughout my days, it's just that I have like all day long to work, as well as on my secondaries and everything that I've already started receiving from the DO schools. And so, yes, I think there's room to improve on my content, and I self-studied before, and I think that was a mistake on my part. And so I just want to go in feeling that I have reviewed all the content again, and I'm strong as in terms of content and reasoning skills, and can score then a good score. So
yeah,
if it comes to having,
I think you're thinking about the MCAT right in terms of wanting to set yourself up for success there. My concern is that you're not setting yourself up for success with the application cycle by getting that score in later. Now, if you're okay with going through this cycle, knowing that your application won't be complete until much later, and you're willing to quote unquote risk that in terms of kind of a risk benefit equation, go for it.
Okay.
Crush it.
I mean, in terms of the complete part of it, I mean, I agree with you on that. And I'm okay with that kind of uncertainty.
Yeah.
In terms of it being complete, I did send that 498 to AACOMAS. So is my application still complete at that point?
Are you registered for your next MCAT?
Yes. And I've informed them that I'm taking the
So
MCAT.
Your application is incomplete.
Incomplete.
Yeah, because you have a pending score. That's how most schools typically will see your application is incomplete, because they will see that flag, for lack of a better word, right? That you have another score coming at some point.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the kind of questions I had. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue moving on with the application process, so long as I'm good mentally with kind of that risk being.
Yeah, it's not ideal, right? Is it the end of the world? No. Getting your score back in September is better than getting your score back in October, right? So there's a silver lining.
Right. Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. If you're on Instagram, request to join live. If you're on YouTube, I posted a link. Hello, YouTube. Earlier, the better always. I wouldn't say August is way too late. There are plenty of people applying in August or having their applications complete in August that are getting in. It's just not ideal at all. Definitely puts you behind the 8 ball. Hello, Luke. I see you join. I'll get to you in 1 second. What's going on?
Hi, Dr. Gray. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
I have a question about the workload and the time that it takes to finish your bachelor's, right? And at least anticipated by med schools for their sort of ideal students, like things that don't really get you asked a question about during interviews. So if I was to really front load my degree the first 2.5 or 3 years, where I'm taking full credits each summer, and then towards the end I take for a whole year just 5 credits each term. Does that get me asked that question, or
I think if you set it up that way, I don't think. I mean, obviously the question can always be there, right? So if you were to ask me, will anybody ask me that question? The answer is sure, someone could, right? If we want to step back and think big picture, what does that look like? Right? That's how I like to interpret things is what is the story behind all of that stuff? Hold on one second. Oh man. What if we were to step back and go, what is the picture being painted by that performance? It looks like you front loaded all of your work so that you could take your senior year easy. Now, why would someone want to take their senior year easy? Oh, well, you're studying for the MCAT, you're applying to medical school, you're doing X, Y, and Z. It makes sense, right?
But
so I don't think people will have a huge problem with it. Now, if you have freshman year kind of normal 12, 16 credits a semester, sophomore year, you have 8 credits a semester, junior year, you have like 10 credits a semester, senior, like if there's some weirdness that as a person trying to interpret what I'm reading, I'm like, what's going on? Why would you take so few credits so early, right? When I'm expecting full course loads because you need to graduate from college, that would make a lot less sense and would raise some more flags and give me some more questions.
So front loading it, and then towards the end, towards the last 2 years, where I'm like maybe 2 years and a half taking like 5 credits each term.
I probably wouldn't do 2 years of that.
No, 1 year.
1 year. 1 year, like 2 semesters would probably make more sense and probably wouldn't cause any issues.
Okay, cool. Now let's say
but be prepared to talk about it.
Really?
Always, right? Always be prepared to talk about anything.
I want to be prepared to talk about it and talk about it normally and honestly and comfortably.
Exactly. Hey, why did you only take 5 credits this semester? Well, I was planning out my undergraduate my undergraduate path, and I knew that the MCAT was going to be there, and I wanted to be prepared as best I could for it. So I shifted my coursework forward a little bit more and took more credits this semester. That's completely logical, and the person listening to go, cool, you're a planner, love it. Okay, next question.
They're not gonna be like, oh, what? So you couldn't handle that and same time you couldn't. What about all of the students who were able to study?
What about all the students that are currently a very common thing now is graduating and then taking the MCAT?
True, that's true. Yeah.
So always, right? My answer to everything is almost everything is it's probably not going to be an issue, right? Because as pre-meds, we like to make everything into a bigger issue than it really is, right? It's probably not going to be an issue, and be prepared to talk about it.
Okay, that's fine. Now, what if I took like a semester or 2 extra on top of the 4 years that, like, let's say I started in January of 2020, and then I ended up graduating in June 2024, the summer of 2024. So about exactly like a semester, almost half, from January to June.
Yeah, that's not fine. Plenty of people take extra time, whether they're completing minors or doing externships or whatever. There's a million reasons why someone would take an extra semester or 2.
So it's fine if you weren't working on a minor and you were literally just like a biology major working to fulfill your degree requirements, and that was all there is to it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, that's relieving. That's pretty cool.
Right? Big picture, almost everything is fine. Now, if you ask me, hey, Dr. Gray, this one medical school that I want to go to, will they have an issue with it? I can't answer that, right? They might have an issue with it. That one person reviewing your application on that one day may go, what the heck? Like, why'd you do that?
Okay.
Big picture, it's not a problem.
Now, if you transfer undergrad, is that gonna get you asked the question if you transfer into graduate institutions?
So let me rewind. Right, rewind. Almost everything is okay, and be prepared to talk about it.
Okay, so just be prepared to talk.
Yeah. Do you think you're the first person in the world that's transferred colleges? We work with students who have transferred, like they have like 7 transcripts.
Oh, Oh yeah, I have like at least I'm gonna have 4 transcripts. So
yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool. It's this.
Work on the breathing, my friend. Work on the breathing.
I haven't had coffee. This is without coffee. Breathing like
You got this.
it's the last 2 years. You know how we breathe as pre-meds in the last 2 years.
You got
especially
this.
around. Now, if you're doing clinical experience continually, let's say maybe about 8 or 10 hours a month, or maybe about or every 2 weeks or so. That's after putting in like almost 3,000 hours of like CNA clinical experience in the first 3 years. Is that?
I'm gonna hang up on you now because all of your questions, my answer is you're gonna be okay. Just breathe. You're gonna go. You're fine, my friend. You're fine. I'm gonna go answer some other questions.
Okay. I really
You're good. You're good. All right. Good luck. Oh man, welcome to the Overthinking Pre-Med Club. What's up, Luke?
Hi, glad to be here.
What's up? What can I help you with?
So I don't know, I'm sure you know actually, but TMDSES this year has
500.
increased a lot of 500 characters. Kind of
Except
blew me away
for
opening it up.
non-academic recognition and employment. Those are the two?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And when I was planning for it, I had one of my bigger, more active activities kind of split up into different, aspects of it. And now with this 500, it's like almost enough to make a story, but not enough to like really flesh out everything that I did. I was just wondering, is there a point in the TMDSES where I can have too much of one activity? Kind of.
Too much of one activity. Give me an example. What do you mean by that?
So, like, I am the director of an a cappella group on campus, and so I have a
Nice.
leadership role. Yeah, it's awesome. I have a leadership role. I've been a member.
I love me some Pitch Perfect.
Oh, yes, big part of my application too. So, um, so I'm a director as a leader. I have been a member, so that's like leadership and then member, and then also
Got it.
I directed like a major creative project to 100 hours, and
Got
then
it.
I also have like, we do volunteer service, which was another.
Okay.
I have like 4 different entries.
Okay. That makes
500
sense.
characters, and then it's
Yeah.
going to go ongoing, so it's a continued thing, and then it's
Yeah.
also most meaningful.
Yeah.
So
the answer is yes.
okay.
There can be too much. So that reminds me very much of like a military vet who's like, how do I
Mhm.
talk about being in the military? Because in the military you wear lots of hats. Like I'm this and I'm that and I'm this, and in my squadron I have this leadership role, and then on the base I have this role, and in the group I have this role. Like there's all of this different stuff. Like, do I put it all? And the answer really is you don't have to. The goal of the application is not to capture every single thing that you've done, right? It's to show kind of big picture who you are. And TMDSAS gets a little bit crazy, and ACOMAS as well, because there's no limits on the amount of entries. And so you could go crazy and go, well, between 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m., I had this role. And between 8:30 a.m. and 8:55 a.m., I had this role. And 8:55 a.m. to 9 a.m., I really didn't do anything, so I'm going to leave that blank. And then 9 a.m., like, you could go super crazy, but you may drive the reviewer crazy of like, why are you telling me all this stuff? Why are you wasting my time? So I would take a step back and think about everything that you've done, whether it's for the a cappella group, big picture leadership stuff, academic recognition stuff. Like, look at everything and go, how impactful was this for me? How much can I show my impact through how I'm going to write about these things?
Mhm.
If you feel like it is something impactful and not just, ooh, I did it, therefore I should write about it, then go for it. right? Obviously, being an a cappella member, probably the least impactful thing you talked about, right? Talking about a cappella leadership, I'm going to assume you're an a cappella member based on a cappella leadership, right?
Yeah.
Talking about running a big a cappella event or whatever, right? That shows a lot about who you are, especially if you can show through your words, like you ran this event and 1,000 people came and you were organizing 12 different a cappella groups and all of the logistics for that. Like that shows a lot about who you are for communication skills and organization skills and all of those things, where you don't have to specifically say, "Ooh, look at my organizational skills." Right. So just think through, like, just outside of the application, outside of the application, just list everything and go, is this really impactful, or am I just putting it down to put it down because I did it?
Right.
And then go from there. And
Great.
then for each thing, for TMDSAS specifically, you're going to focus on the ability, the ability, or the format of TMDSAS is all category based, right? So you have healthcare experience categories, you have community enrichment experiences. They renamed it enrichment, I think. You have all these different categories, and then if you have something that kind of overlaps, right, from an a cappella standpoint, if you have one that's community enrichment and one that's leadership, you just focus on whatever that category is with that writing, right?
Yeah, sounds great.
Does that help?
Yes. And I just had one more quick thing.
Yeah.
For TMDSAS specifically, the projected activities.
Yeah. So
How
future activities.
Right. How do you recommend kind of going about that? Because the way that I kept writing about it is a little too resume, a little too like listed.
Yeah, TMDSAS is going to be more resume, more listed. So I wouldn't worry about the format there. Again, you have more space this year, which is great. But I think specifically for future stuff, it is more future looking, right? It's not here's what I did. It's here's what I hope to accomplish in this next year, or whatever that time period is.
Great. Thank you so much. I've been
You're welcome.
binging a lot for getting this done this
Good.
cycle.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. Again, if you're on Instagram, you can join me live. If you're on YouTube, like,
hello.
We pronounced your name yesterday or Wednesday, Akaki.
Indeed,
is that
yes, that was correct.
Nice.
Great job. Yeah.
What's up?
Hi. So, essentially, I have a question regarding kind of my path, and how to kind of tell the story well in the the application.
Yep.
So essentially, I came in as a pre-med in undergrad, but then after doing research, I really loved research. I wanted to become an MD PhD, but my school didn't really have any kind of biomedical research opportunity, so I decided to start a master's. And I love the master's so much, and the institution, and especially the lab I work in, that I transitioned from master's to a PhD.
Great.
And now I'm finishing my PhD next year, so I'm applying this cycle to start med school in 2024.
Okay.
And so research is like obviously a ginormous part of my journey, and I have like ton of hours. And I was wondering if I should talk about this path in the personal statement, or just activities would be enough. And one of most meaningful activities, obviously, research for me. So I wanted to somehow tie that into medicine. So I was wondering what you think about that.
So at the end of the day, your path is your path, right? And this is what I love about the application, and why I think when students talk about themes, like, I want to have a theme for my application, I'm like, your theme is just who you are and what you've been doing, right? So your quote unquote theme is going to be, you obviously love research because you've been doing a ton of it, transitioning from a master's to a PhD before you start medical school. So that's just going to be your journey. Now, you mentioned, I think I heard that you started this path pre-med. You just happened to also like research, and so you did a bunch of research. So your personal statement, I don't think really changes. Your personal statement is, why do you want to be a physician? Not, I want to be a researcher as a physician, right? So I don't think your personal statement changes a ton based on the fact that you like research, that obviously it seems like you would prefer to do a lot of research in your career. I think your personal statement is still, why do you want to be a doctor, period.
Right. Okay, that's how I have it right now. I don't really talk about research at all in my personal statement.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if, med school's going to be like, oh, why did he get a PhD first and then applying to medical school?
Do you know what they'll think? Oh, either they'll think a couple things. Either you really like research and you want research to be a part of your career. You transition from research to physician at some point, or you're one of those weirdo lifelong students that just hops around from degree to degree. With the latter, that last one is the worst thing they could think about you.
Right. Okay. So that's kind of pretty much the only thing I was wondering about.
Yeah.
Another thing is that I know it's an issue. So I did take my MCAT in 2020.
Ooh.
So it is old. I've been looking at schools, and there are some schools that do accept old MCATs.
Yeah.
But even
that's
so,
the only thing. Yeah, you're just going to have to go school by school. Unfortunately, I wish the AAMC had more weight into making that standard, to say, hey, let's just make it an even 4 years for everyone, or whatever it is. But each individual school has their rules, and I don't know why it's so arbitrary of like January 2020 versus September 2020. That's like, why? I took it in April, and so all of the September 2020s are like, I can't apply there, whatever.
Right. Well, it is what it is. I'll try, and it kind of limits a lot of schools, but if not, I'll just retake the MCAT.
Their loss.
Right again. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That was all. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you for all you're doing, by the way. Your
welcome.
channel is so helpful for me.
Good. Happy to help. Bye. Awesome. All right, Vinny, I'll get to you in 1 second. Let me hop back to IG. I like doing the this is only like the third time maybe that I've done YouTube and Instagram together. It's easy. I like doing both. Hello, Angelina.
Hi, Dr. Gray.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. What's going on?
Good to hear.
Is that a Rutgers sweatshirt?
Yeah, Rutgers rowing. I was filling out. I'm almost done with my personal statement.
Okay.
And I've been reading your book on how to write it. It's been very helpful. But I'm kind of stuck on the conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I'm kind of stuck on the conclusion because how I wrote it before I read your book is kind of like the English essay, the standard, like summarizing my experiences, and this is why I want to be a doctor kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you talk about like showing what kind of impact you want to do in the field of medicine.
Aspirational thinking, kind of.
Yeah, and then it's not like what kind of like specialty I want to do. It's kind of like what population I want to work with, right? Am I thinking about it correctly?
Yeah, so not specialty specific. I don't think your personal statement should get down into specialty, because you're applying to medical school. You're not applying to residency. And most students who enter medical school change their mind anyway. So I don't think you should go specialty. Now, obviously, there are lots of students out there where if you look at their application, you can go, oh, I can see that you're really interested in X, right? You've spent a ton of time in psychiatry. You've spent a ton of time in ortho or emergency med or whatever. Don't worry about that, right? Again, your journey is your journey. For the conclusion, you don't need to specifically say, I hope one day to practice as a psychiatrist, blah, blah, blah. You can mention, right? A lot of us have our unique path through life, and whether you're an immigrant or come from an underserved population, or from a specific culture that maybe is underserved, and you want to mention that because of who you are, right? If obviously a lot of essays we read because of our very big Hispanic population is serving the Hispanic population, and that's what they want to talk about. Great, because that's who they are, right? And saying that doesn't necessarily unless they word it maybe what I think is maybe the wrong way of like, I only want to serve the Hispanic population, then there are some potential concerns, right? Of like, well, what about everyone else? It may sound like you don't care about everyone else, right? Not that you do or don't, it just sounds that way through your writing. So I think if you want to talk specifically about a specific population that kind of is at the core, a very big population that you want to serve, that's perfect to talk about it as well. And then in general, kind of all patients, all the healthcare field, what is your goal? How do you want to impact it? What are your aspirations there?
Okay. Yeah, I kind of talked about the underserved because when I moved here, we didn't have money for a specialist that I needed.
Yeah.
And my doctor saw me for free, which, it was.
Yeah. And that's
he's an
why,
amazing person.
right? And I can never wish to take that authenticity away from someone. Right. So I will never say, oh, you can't talk about that. Right. Because that's your path. That's your journey. That's your passion based on your lived experiences. So great. Talk about it. And there are certain ways maybe to talk about it and whatever. Right. So awesome.
Yeah, with like a future intent.
Yeah. Future intent specifically for the conclusion. One thing that I tell students to think about is, how would you want your patients to talk about you, think about you, write about you when you retire?
Okay.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
Without specifically saying, when I retire, I want to blah, blah, blah. Right. But it just, it gives you a frame of mind to think about it. All right.
Oh, another question.
Yeah.
Quick ones. All right. So the most meaningful activities, I started writing out because I thought it's 1,300 characters, but there is another tab, like 700. And
yes. So so every activity for AMCAS gets 700 characters. That's the quote unquote description. Right. When you mark it as most meaningful, you get an extra /separate, which is a key part of this, 1,325 character most meaningful essay. So I was looking at an application a week or two ago, and a student made a very common mistake. She didn't get into med school. I was reviewing the application with her. She made a very common mistake on her most meaningful essays, her most meaningful activities. She did not fill out that 700 character description. She only filled out the 1,325. And I'm like, no, like, you do both. You do both. They're separate, but you do both.
And it's like basic description, and then you go into storytelling in the second one. That's how I like approached it.
That's fine. There's no rules to how you set it up. Some students do stories in both. I think at the end of the day, remember, it potentially needs about a sentence to just say who you are in this role. Like what is your specific role? Some impact that you had, whether that's through an anecdote or something else. And then ideally some reflection. And you should have reflection in your descriptions as well. Like, what did this mean to you? And then the discussion in your most meaningful is you're kind of answering the question, why is this most meaningful to me?
Okay. Yeah, I guess I need to work on that. And with like, and you have like a conclusion kind of statement in each with like
a reflection statement. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Got
definitely.
it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So helpful.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Vinny G.
Oh my gosh, the man, the legend himself.
I know. I'm speaking to him. What's up?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think everyone should be watching you. I've watched every single episode so far.
Thank you.
But long story short, from those episodes you talked about having sustained, meaningful clinical experiences. I'm currently working right now at a big cancer hospital in Boston, which is lovely. I love it so much.
I love the sound effects in the background.
Yep, you can probably hear that on the way there. And I'm heading over there right after this, actually.
Nice.
The last time I had a clinical experience was right before the pandemic. And that's not to say I haven't been doing anything in between. They're just not clinical. And I've had very meaningful experiences in between then. I had things that I want to be a doctor, but I'm just wondering if the on paper fact that I haven't gotten some sort of clinical hours in those 2.5 years, will that sort of come up in, I guess, anyone reading my application?
Yeah, so very, very similar to how I answered the question earlier is be prepared to talk about everything and anything, right? Be prepared for your application to be nitpicked, to say, what about this and what about that, and why didn't you do anything on this Saturday in July back in 1983? I'm like, I wasn't even born yet. That I think at the end of the day, you have to be prepared to talk about anything and everything because you have no idea what potentially they may nitpick. My big concern is if you don't continue to get any clinical experience now. You said you're going to the hospital now. Are you getting clinical experience? Are you just shadowing? What are you doing?
Yeah, I work as a clinical research coordinator, and it's really great that I'm still able to see patients, work with doctors.
Yeah, so you're getting clinical experience now. You just had a gap where you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think anyone looking at that will go, oh, pandemic, got it. Right. But the fact that you restarted and ideally your application will show that you're going to continue it through the application or continue something through the application will kind of remove any fears of you just checking boxes going, oh, I did it, therefore I'm done.
Great. Thank you so much. And that advice I've used, I've actually just secured a shadowing for a geriatrician actually. So
great.
I'm gonna get like over 50 hours now actually. So
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. All right. So Instagram, if you want to join me live, you can. Oh, we had someone on YouTube, but they just left. So join me anywhere. Let me see. I love this question, Rylan. When deciding on a medical school, how much should we take into consideration prestige? Now that step one is pass fail, do you see that changing competitives for residency? I don't know if we've seen enough data to make any conclusions with that yet. Ultimately, I think not much has changed because all of the weight just moved to step two. So I think that's the biggest thing talking to people is they're like, oh, step two is still scored. We're just going to use that instead. So I don't think prestige is going to take more of a bigger factor. So I wouldn't be too concerned. All righty. What time is it? Oh, yeah, we got time. Hello there.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I just have a question. So I switched from pre-PT to pre-med kind of late in my academic career.
Yeah.
And I do have a lot of clinical experience, and I've been working in the hospital for the last 3 years throughout my undergrad.
Awesome.
And I have a lot of shadowing, and I've met with you to like go over my personal statement and different things. But when I had my committee interview with my school to get a letter, they said they will not write for me because I don't have the upper level biology, but I do have all the prereqs. So I just didn't know. They said I should do like a graduate certificate before applying, and I don't know what I should do.
How are your grades?
My all of my prereq grades are good. I have a really strong like upward trend. My overall like GPA is a 3.5 and my science is a 3.6.
Okay.
So they're not terrible.
Yeah, not terrible. Look, you're always going to find someone who just wants to be the naysayer for whatever reason. It's one of the reasons why I loathe. I cannot say how much I hate committees and committee letters enough. They wield too much power and they destroy the confidence of so many students that they don't need to. So them telling you, oh, you don't have enough upper level sciences, maybe they were told that by an admissions committee member at one medical school. And so they're passing that down as the answer to everything, right? Or maybe they just think that because they think that. I think ultimately there's no right or wrong. You could apply with what you have, and your academic data points are just one data point on your full application, from GPA to MCAT to activities to personal statement to all of that stuff. So you can apply to medical school and just get individual letters. You don't need that committee letter.
Okay.
It's really up to you.
And like say if I weren't to get in this cycle, do you think it's worth it to do a graduate certificate in the next year if I can, or try to get more?
Yeah. So ultimately, my answer is I don't have enough data in front of me to know, right, your specific situation without looking at your specific grades to go, oh yeah, I agree with them, or oh no, you're fine. Again, you said you have an upward trend. What does that mean? Is that 3 credits? Is that 20 credits? So without actually like looking at your individual grades and courses and full picture transcript, it's kind of impossible to say. Could you apply to medical school this cycle and take some classes in the fall and spring, just some of those upper division classes? I don't think you need a graduate certificate, right? Maybe you take some upper division biology classes like genetics or cell biology or something that may help show, again, some continued upward trend and success in upper division science courses. But do you have to? Again, I don't know without specifically looking at all of your data points.
Okay.
So, do you have a Mapped account?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Let me open up. Hold on one second. Have you entered all of your stuff in there?
Yeah.
Oh, you have. What are the? Oh wait. Give me the beginning part of your email address.
It's a2.uhrlaub.
All right, hold on. A2 dot.
Yeah, like period.
Yeah.
UHL.
All right, I got it. All right. So I'm going to add 90 days of Mapped Pro onto your account. Go into your account and go and ask that question through our map chat, and one of our advisors will give you more specific feedback based on your stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
All right.
I'll do that.
All right.
Thanks.
So yeah, when you log in, just click on the advising tab, and then mapped chat or mapped advisors will be one of the options to chat with.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. All right. If anyone else wants access to Mapped Pro, if you don't already have an account, you can just use IG Live as the referral code, and it'll give you 90 days free of Mapped Pro. All right. Let me get back to YouTube. Hello, Rylan. I cannot hear you. You are muted, but you are driving, Rylan. I have a rule. I don't talk to people who are driving. I'm sorry. I know you've been waiting. Okay. I didn't notice.
That's fine.
I don't want to cause any accidents. You go, drive safe.
Okay, thank you.
Take care, my friend. Yeah, it's just a rule I have. I don't want any car crashes on air. I want you guys to be safe so you can go take care of people, not need to be taken care of. All right. A question. I was wondering if my LORs is able to keep LORs for us to hold on to and store a bit like Interfolio. That's exactly the point of my LORs, right? We are pre-health focused in letter of recommendation service, very similar to Interfolio. Interfolio isn't pre-health focused, just it works for the pre-health world. But we are trying to innovate as much as possible to make the process easier for letter writers, for students. And we're working through that. Obviously, this is our first cycle with my LORs. We work with ACOMAS and AMCAS this cycle. TMDSAS will come next cycle. All right. So if you want to join live, I have a couple minutes left on Instagram or on YouTube. Let me repost the YouTube live link. All righty. This is such a common question. would it look bad to admissions committees if I chose 3 different activities from the ones I talked about in my personal statement as the most meaningful? Your personal statement is, why do you want to be a doctor? So the activities that you choose for your personal statement should help support why you want to be a physician. For your activity section, the most meaningful activities are not related to medicine. The most meaningful activities are specifically most meaningful to you as a person. So, no, I don't think you need to be concerned there. Victor, hello there. You have a question?
Hi, Dr. Gray.
What's up?
So I was an international student, and I remember you telling me I have to like get a different degree here in the US. Although I haven't been able to get the degree, but I've taken over, I think, going to 97 credits.
Nice. Yeah, that 90 credit rule is one of those random things out there.
Okay. But since I'm an adult and I'm working full time and also, taking classes, I was only able to take like 3 courses a
Mhm.
quarter.
Yeah.
Does that work?
It's gonna have to. What's the alternative, Victor? Like, you decide that it's not gonna work and just don't apply to medical school. Like, the alternative is not applying. So I think you apply, and the medical schools are going to take a look at your application and go, oh, I see that you're an adult who needed to work to put a roof over your head and food on the table. It is what it is. I had someone recently on the pre-med years podcast, if you listen to that, a very similar situation. She was a non-traditional student. She was a librarian and very much had to take her time going through her courses in a part-time fashion, apply to medical school, no problems getting in. Right. And that is very anecdotal, right? I understand that, right? That's not evidence to support. And we also don't know the schools that she didn't get into. Did they have a problem with that?
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I very often, when I talk about things, I talk about them big picture, right? In the macro environment, will it be an issue? And the answer almost always is no, it's not going to be an issue. Will it be an issue at one specific medical school? Potentially, right? Because we don't know who those people are. We don't know what their policies are. We don't know if the person woke up on the wrong side of the bed one day and was like, I don't like this. Right. So
Right.
you just don't know. But big picture, there are always students who have a very similar path to you who are getting into med school who don't have an issue
Okay.
with that specific part of their application, meaning taking part-time kind of course loads.
Okay. I mean, I wasn't just like taking just 2 classes and working full time. Later in the evening, I'll be at the hospital, just shadowing doctors and working, just volunteering as well.
Yeah. And that should be celebrated and applauded and shows so much about your character and perseverance and dedication and like all of that. Right. And the majority, I would say, without any data to support that, but I think the majority of people looking at your application will see that. And yes, you may get some crusty old white guys who are still on the admissions committee that go, oh, you didn't do it the way that I did it. And I did it by taking 16 credits a semester. And if you don't do that, then you're not qualified. I don't know if that's what they sound like, but
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray.
You're welcome, Victor. Good luck.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye. Rylan pulled over. What's up?
Hey, so my question is, so as far as choosing and deciding on potential medical schools to apply to, how much would you take in consideration prestige, knowing that residency spots are maybe changing how they're selecting applicants, as far as step 1 becoming pass-fail?
Yeah, I answered your question already, but I'll answer it again now that you're here.
Thank you.
That was a Batman voice. I'm Batman. The answer really is I don't think things have changed much. Without a ton of data to support that. I don't think we have enough evidence yet, since it's only been a couple of years now, to understand the full ramifications of step one going pass fail. I think when the announcement was first made, I was lucky enough. I had some conversations with some program directors in residencies, and I said, "Hey, this is happening. How are you all thinking about this?" And most of them are like, step two is still scored. So we're going to put all of that weight that we filtered step one with, we're just going to put it on step two, right? So that there's still some objective, right? Even though it's a crap objective measure, some objective measure that they can just filter and go, yes, no. I think a few of them were like, I have no idea. We haven't thought about it. Not sure what we're going to do. But I think ultimately there were some of those fears, I think, stoked mostly by the super elitist, prestigious hunting, prestige chasing students that are like, oh, see, me going to Cornell is going to be an easy thing now, and a good thing. Therefore, I think that's going to be important, right? So everyone, it's human psychology, right? We want to have confirmation bias. And so we want to think that the path that we chose of chasing prestige is going to help us in the long run. Historically, that's just not the case, right? Just in the medical field, thankfully, we don't have any sort of separation of like, if you want a job at Harvard, you don't have to go to Harvard Medical School and go to Harvard residency to get a job at Harvard as an attending, right? We don't have that sort of kind of prestigiousness in our system like a lot of law firms do, right? If you want to work in this prestigious law firm, you got to go to Harvard or Yale or whatever those prestige chasing nuts do. So I don't think it's going to be anything at this point to change my advice on how to pick schools and any of that, no matter what specialty.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, I really appreciate it. Have a great day, Dr. Gray.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad Rylan pulled over. Christina, hello. You are muted.
Hello. How are you?
Hello there. Fight
Hi.
on. Fight on.
Yes. Actually, I'm a Knoll. This is my best friend.
Oh, no. Goodbye.
Oh, right. You're a Gator. Oops.
What's up?
So I have a question. I really struggled freshman and sophomore year with my grades. I got a D in general chemistry. I have an upward trend.
SU education for you.
Maybe. I have an upward trend for like orgochem, biochem. I ended up being a TA. But I really had to fight for that 507 on my MCAT, which isn't an amazing score, but
it's a good score.
Fight for that because I had to learn a lot of that. So how would I speak about that in my application?
I don't think you have to, right? It's a very common question of like, how do I address my grades? Secondary essays may ask about it, right? They may say, hey, if you got less than a B- or something in a course, talk about it. What happened? But ultimately, your transcript speaks for itself.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you have to have shown academic capability, ideally at the end of your education, right? If you show academic capability your first 2 years and then you fall flat on your face your last 2 years, that's a big issue. But if you struggled out of the gate and then you picked it up, which is why we always talk about upward trend. So if you're at like a 3.3 cumulative GPA, but your last year or two is as close to a 4.0 as possible, that speaks very highly about your academic readiness. Okay. Your final number isn't super sexy, but you've shown academic capability. Now the question is, have you done enough? And was it sustained enough? Was it in the right courses to show academic capability? Obviously, without looking at your transcript, I can't give you that specific advice. Okay. But I don't think you need to specifically mention it anywhere, typically, unless there's like something super drastic that you're like, ooh. With AMCAS this year, we have that other impactful experiences essay. Maybe there's something there. But it's just going to be up to you to decide how and if you want to address it. But typically, the transcript will speak for itself.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank
Go
you.
Gators. I booted her before she could rebut. All right, my friends, I'm going to run. I'm here almost every Friday answering questions on Instagram and now a lot on YouTube. So come hang out with us. I have the rest of the team or some other members of the advising team with me on Wednesdays as well for pre-med office hours on YouTube. Come join us there. That is at 1 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. So I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.